So in keeping with my promise of making 2 videos a week, this is my 2nd video this week. Aren't you guys proud of me? Pardon the fact that I'm wearing the same clothes as my last video. I'm actually recording these videos back to back, so that's why I'm in the same regalia. That said, one of the videos that blew up the most on my channel that I had no idea would blow up was my last video on the M50 Speedbooster, which was actually like 3 videos ago now. I made it before I went to Thailand. I just got my Speedbooster. I was so excited about it. And after about 3 months of using it, I feel like it's a great time to make an update video and tell you guys just how the Speedbooster has been holding up, performance wise, durability wise, all that good stuff, because there were so many questions that I couldn't really answer at the time when I made that video that hopefully I'll be able to answer now. Before I get started, if at any time you're finding the video enjoyable, do me a solid and click that thumbs up button as well as that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Really appreciate it. Helps the channel grow and helps the content get out to more people. That said, this little guy has really been on my camera for the past 3 months. It's the Viltrox Speedbooster. And after 3 months, I've got some thoughts on it. So if you've not seen my first video on the Viltrox Speedbooster for the M50, I'll put it in the top left corner. There's a really cool janky B-roll sequence in there, so you definitely don't want to miss that. But in the time since then, I have gotten a lot better at explaining what exactly a Speedbooster is, what it does, and what are some pros and cons of it. Just briefly, a Speedbooster pretty much acts as a magnifying glass for your lens. It just focuses light into a smaller area of the sensor, therefore gaining an f-stop, as well as pretty much turning that lens into a full frame version of itself and turning the camera into a full frame camera. Now there are a few caveats that I really didn't know about when I first started using this thing that I've learned now, and I'll be able to talk about a bit more in detail now. For starters, one, because of the fact that there is a glass element here and light has to go through that, because it's not L glass or whatever the quality of glass lens that you're using, I assume it's a full frame lens, so it's going to be pretty good quality glass. The Speedbooster actually degrades quality quite a bit. I don't know if it's just my particular lens or if it's all full frame lenses that get quite as bad as what I've been getting lately, but it degrades it quite a bit. This glass right here, remember this thing only costs $150. That's how much they're selling it for. So to make the actual lens, or to make the actual glass element, an adapter, probably costs about $40–50 for this company, if that. And so the glass is not going to be premium quality. It's not really good, to be honest. And so it's kind of like putting really bad tires on a Porsche. You know, you can have a brand new sports car, but if you've got bad tires on it, kind of defeats the purpose of that. And that's what I feel like the Speedbooster has been doing. I've been getting some really bad purple fringing around the edges of my photos, as well as some really soft results. Now I'm vlogging right now on the 16-35 f4. It's my main lens. It rarely comes off my M50. For the longest time, I was just wondering if it was something I was doing in terms of my exposure, if my camera just wasn't good enough. I was really contemplating getting the RP the other day. What happened was I switched back to the regular EFM adapter that Viltrox made. Canon have one as well. I really recommend the Viltrox one. And I noticed my photos got so much sharper. The colors were coming through a lot better. Everything just looked tack sharp in the center of the image, which is really what you should be getting with the 16-35. It's an L series lens, so it's professional. Professionals use this for their landscapes, for whatever else they do where they need wide angles. And I just wasn't sure why I was getting such sharp images. So come to find out, once I switched to the regular adapter from the Speedbooster, that it must be the Speedbooster. The glass here was degrading my images quite a bit, to the point where actually my iPhone was really taking better pictures in terms of just apparent sharpness. So obviously when you pixel peep, a mirrorless camera is gonna be a lot better than a phone, but just how the images looked overall. My video before the last was actually filmed on this as well, and just when I uploaded it to YouTube, it was shot in 1080p with pretty decent lighting. I just noticed it looked really soft and kind of fuzzy around the edges. My face didn't look that sharp, and well, found out it was because of this. Now, despite everything I've said negative about this thing, don't let that discourage you from picking it up, because it actually does serve a purpose. If you know what purpose it serves, it can do it really well. So what I would not use this thing for, I would not use this if you need to take a picture and you need it to be really sharp. It is going to degrade the image quality. I've tried all apertures and focal lengths on the 16-35 and they all came out really soft. It really isn't until I set it to be about f12 at maybe 16 millimeters that you really get optimal sharpness, and that's if you got your ISO at base, so about 100 on the M50, and even then it's still really soft if you compare it to the regular EF adapter. So I wouldn't use this thing if you need your images to be super sharp, or if you need your video to be super sharp, especially not with an ND filter like I discovered when I was out shooting the other day. I had a variable ND on here as well as the Speedbooster, so now light's going through the ND, which already slightly degrades quality depending on how much you pay for your ND filter and the quality of the glass on that. And then it's going through this as well before it's hitting the sensor. So it's going through like 4 or 5 different pieces of glass before it hits your sensor. and that's gonna cause a really big color shift as well. What I would use this for though is actually if you need really wide shots and you don't care if it's sharp or not. Sometimes you're just out vlogging and the image doesn't have to be tack sharp. I would use it for a situation like that. For example, right now I'm on the 16 to 35. I'm at about 16 mils, which is about 28 mils full frame. If I put this on, which reduces it to a 1.1 crop, 1.2 crop, which means 16 mils is really only 18 mils, which is extremely wide. In fact, I rarely find myself even needing that much width. So unless you're doing a really wide landscape shot, if you're out in the Scottish Highlands somewhere, the Grand Canyon, where you just need a lot of the scene, I don't even see much need to get that wide, you know, depending on the lens you have. If you got a 28 to 70, 28 is a very usable range, you know, 30 with the crop. But keep that in mind when you're considering picking this thing up. It is 150 bucks. Does have some downsides, but it also has a lot of pros as well, so don't let it discourage you. Just make sure you're aware of this when you're shooting. You know, if you need something to be really sharp and in focus, you might not want to use the speed booster. If you need a lot of the scene, or if you need that extra f-stop going from f4 to f2.8, it can really be a viable option, so just keep that in mind. I also want to apologize to a couple people who commented on that last speed booster video. A few people said they noticed a lot of purple fringing. I personally didn't at the time, but now that I've gone back and looked at it, there's definitely a lot of purple fringing that this thing produces, and also now that I've been shooting on it for a longer time, I'm able to see that more. It does produce a lot of purple fringing and chromatic aberration, which can be fixed in Lightroom quite easily, so not the biggest deal in the world. Speaking of Lightroom, when you connect your camera to Lightroom and you're importing photos and you have the option to use lens profile corrections, your Lightroom will not recognize the lens you're using if you're using a speed booster. That's because of the fact that obviously the speed and also the focal length of the lens have changed. So 16 to 35 is no longer 16 to 35, actually 18 to like 40 or 38, something like that, and it goes from f4 to f2.8. So of course Canon don't make an actual lens like that, so Lightroom won't have the profile. You'll have to go in and manually enter your lens and set it to default, so whenever you're using, Lightroom will detect it. So those are some brief caveats of the speed booster. Overall, I still think it is a great buy just because of the versatility that it gives you if you need those extra wide shots, if you're out vlogging and you need to be extra wide. I still think the combination of the speed booster and the regular EF-M adapter, so that you gain some focal length. For example, this becomes a 28 to like 54 or something like that, and then the speed booster where you actually get the proper focal length of whatever glass you're using, I think is a really good combination, and I think it's something that everybody should have in their camera kit bag. The speed booster remains a very valuable tool for myself. Whenever I'm doing B-roll and I don't need that much detail in the scene, I'm just doing an establishing shot or want to give you a general idea of what the place looks like, I always go with the speed booster to set up more of the scene where you can see more of the environment and you get a wider field of view. Whenever I need more detail, I go with the regular adapter, go with a nifty 50 or something, throw digital IS on, and that way I'm able to get sharpness as well as getting a tighter view of something. So I definitely still recommend it for shots like that. So that pretty much wraps up the video for today, guys. If you did find it enjoyable and helpful, educational, go ahead and smash that thumbs up button if that's what you're into. Click that subscribe button as well as clicking the notification bell so you know as soon as I upload. Thank you guys so much for the support. I'll see you on my next one.